For 15 years now, sex and women's pleasure have been part of the conversation on television. TV series have been transformed thanks to the rise of various female leads who embody a multiplicity of sexualities. The emergence of these complex and complicated heroines are revealing major changes in our society. They become examples that help us free our speech and our vision. At the start, Fleabag is the title of a play written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Sitting on a stool, the actress and author recounts the sexual life of a 30-year-old that everyone calls Fleabag. After the success of the play, her best friend, Vicky Jones, who directed the stage performance, helps her adapt the text into a TV series. Lydia Hampson produces the 6 episodes of the first season in which Phoebe embodies this provocative heroine.
I have a horrible feeling I'm a greedy, perverted, selfish, apathetic, cynical, depraved, mannish-looking, morally bankrupt woman who can't even call herself a feminist.
Our heroine tackles the question of anal sex with detachment. She masturbates while lurking around porn sites or watching a speech by Obama. And she criticizes her sister's lack of orgasm while she herself almost never comes. This obsession with sex is actually a way to cope with the death of both her mother and her best friend. Behind this dry British humor hides a sexuality that rhymes with melancholy and mortality.
So she's a young woman living in a city or in London, and she is she has a front of confidence and sexual candour and kind of impenetrable humour, but actually that's hiding underneath a kind of self-loathing and grief.
We felt passionately, I think, both of us, that we needed to talk about who we are now, and our attitudes towards roles for women came from that as well. We felt like there wasn't much opportunity for women to be as badass and as dark and as complicated and as real as we experienced being ourselves, and we experienced our friends being.
Oh.
Oh, I think you just did it at the bottom.
It's always a twist. Ooh. Whoa.
I know.
Yeah. You should totally get one of those.
A vagina?
Yeah.
Oh, I've already got one.
Really? No. You've got one?
I take it with me everywhere.
No, you lie. You don't have one on you now.
Yep, never gonna get it.
Where?
Where's my vagina?
Yeah.
Where's my vagina?
Yeah.
Oh, you got me. I don't carry a vagina around with me. That'd be way too provocative. Didn't get it. There was a lot of conversations about it afterwards from people saying, did you just decide to write a man, then put a woman's name, or just make a woman play her? Which I'm like, of course not. To me, she's a very real character, a real woman.
I've had it said a lot that Fleabag kind of behaves like a male character. And the biggest thing that we came up against is how likeable she was. You look at Tony Soprano, I think it's one of those amazing characters on television, but he's also a cold-blooded killer, and no one ever went, I just don't think he's very likeable after he killed that person. I think he's so likeable, but that's not the point. And I think women, it's a particularly, a criticism levelled particularly at women that, are they likeable? Should they be likeable? What do we like about them?
I sit on the loo and think about all the people I can have sex with now. I'm not obsessed with sex. I just can't stop thinking about it. The performance of it, the awkwardness of it, the drama of it. The moment you realise someone wants your body. Not so much the feeling of it.
There's a section of it that talks about how she loves sex, the drama of it, the performance of it. And then she says not so much the feeling of it. And that was something which we talked about years ago.
and just sort of whispered to each other. I think Phoebe just whispered it to me, and I was like, that's how I feel so much of the time. And there's a real fear with that. We because we feel that we need to perform in sex, and you know, there's a real sense of what we look like, and we're very aware of whether we're being sexy in the moment, but whether we're actually feeling those excited, genuine sexual feelings is a completely different matter. And I think that both of us sort of felt like that was the ultimate taboo. There's something that we couldn't say, and so of course Phoebe put it in.
We were trying to represent the disconnect between the kind of sex that saturates society, that we're surrounded by. Everyone's doing it all the time. Everyone looks incredible. This is how you do it. And if you don't get this, you're doing it wrong. And if you didn't get that, then you didn't do it right. And I think that disconnect between what's supposed to happen when two partners are lying in bed together, and the reality of what sex feels like, and how it feels to project, how it feels to be desired by someone else, but also how it feels to know what your own desires are. And quite often they're not communicated, or quite often those two things aren't on the same page at all.
After some pretty standard bouncing, you realise he's edging towards your arsehole. But you're drunk, and he made the effort to come all the way here, so you let him. He's thrilled.
Oh, I'm so thrilled.
And then the next morning, you wake to find him fully dressed, sat on the side of the bed, gazing at you. He says that...
Last night was incredible.
Which you think is an overstatement. But then he goes on to say that...
It was particularly special because I've never managed to actually up the bum with anyone before.
To be fair, he does have a large penis.
And although it's always been a fantasy of mine, I've never found anyone I could do it with.
And then he touches your hair. And then he leaves. And you spend the rest of the day wondering, do I have a massive arsehole? The power of that language to me is so affecting. A woman talking about anal sex in quite a sort of concerned way, like, do I have a massive arsehole? As a real concern, just always sort of really made me laugh. I thought it was a good joke. It was a good joke, but it's also bold. You know, it's a bold moment in which she is vulnerable.
You just don't see female sexuality represented that bluntly on screen that often compared to male sexuality. So I think it probably is very universal, but it's just that we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge its universality because, I don't know, too scared.
I think something like sex is so innately hilarious and ludicrous that we have to have a sense of humour about it. And I feel huge relief when people can be humorous about sex, because it is. I mean, we all take our clothes off and just throw our bodies at each other. It's stupid. And we all do it. Sit on my stripy sofa, open my laptop. Anal, gangbang, mature, big cocks, small tits, hentai, Asian, teen, MILF, big butt, gay, lesbian, facial, fetish, young and old, swallow, rough, voyeur, public. Suddenly the sun's creeping in and I'm raw. I think what you do to get yourself off, as long as it's not hurting anybody, is absolutely fine.
There is a tendency not to ever, certainly not to prioritise and not really to talk about female pleasure. And I think you are, you know, again, what we consume in terms of porn and the way sex is presented on television is really about it's male pleasure. It's what men are taking from sex.
In my early 20s, around the time of writing Fleabag, I was watching porn and I was sort of getting into it. And only for a sort of short amount of time, but I felt the impact after a few, must have been like 6 months or something of getting into it or just watching it. I felt myself start to see women in a different way and objectify women in a different way, even though I knew that's what was happening, because of the way that I was seeing them being treated and stuff. And I was just watching just really basic kind of like naughty porn. And I suppose when I realised the impact that was even having on me and my self-worth and how I was perceiving women at the time, suddenly frightened me, because I felt like I hadn't been educated in a proper way about what the impact could be. And I just imagined again with writing Fleabag, what if Fleabag had started watching it when she literally had no idea what sex was or what porn was.
This character didn't necessarily need to be that different from anyone else in order to have a really unhealthy relationship with sexuality and her own worth. And it was just in a way, we always saw it as maybe not a massive exaggeration of the way that women already feel, an externalization and an expression of it, but not that many leaps from how some of us already feel all the time, because of what we're told, and because we're reduced to sexual objects.
It's that complicated psychological thing that I think is happening to her, which is probably what was happening to me, which was I was thinking, once I'd been introduced to kind of porn, I was thinking, well, that's how men see women, even though I know that, you know, they don't, it's more complicated than that. But then if that's how, like, I'm seeing women, so that's how I must be seen, and therefore I've got to be a bit more, you know.
It's hard to condemn porn outright because it's very, it's very interesting. You know, everybody wants to have a look.
Porn has become mainstream. Everybody watches, but no one wants to talk about it. In the play, it's a major issue for Fleabag. In the series, the character reflects more on the consequences of these images.
I'm never really sure how I feel about it, but I definitely think it's damaging, and I feel guilty about the fact that I've ever watched any of it at all, because they're real people.
In TV series, I took it out, actually. I tried to keep putting it back in. I was like, we want more porn. I want more porn in Fleabag. But actually, it was... first of all, I didn't want to just depict a girl watching porn all the time. And secondly, it was more about the language of it.
The only literal limit that we came up against was we had to go right to the top of the BBC to check that we could say cunt in episode 1.
I knew instinctively that I didn't want to show anything physical, mainly because in the play, essentially, it was just me talking for an hour about a girl, you know, as a girl who would occasionally talk about her sex life. And it was, I mean, graphically, but not kind of gratuitously. And the reviews and the write-ups and response was like, oh my God, it's the filthiest thing in the world. You know, whereas I'm sure there were plays where people were actually probably having sex on the floor.
We limited what we showed in terms of explicit nudity or explicit sexual conduct that you physically see, because that doesn't feel necessarily that relevant.
It was a no-brainer that you'd never see anything, and it would actually, the most exposing moments or the most sexually candid moments are when she's just looking straight down the barrel and saying something totally unapologetically sexual without breaking eye contact.
You know, I think it's really important, like nearly all of the work that Phoebe and I have ever made has not exposed women and shown them the need for them to be naked. I think we've got enough of that. And there's really no need for it to be able to be explicit about what's happening and show that it's okay for us to talk about these aspects of female sexual experience.
No need to show naked women on screen to be provocative. In Fleabag, sex is not used to get a leg up. It's more of a damaging and solitary game.
It's nice to see women talking about masturbation and owning it and not being ashamed of it. You know, it seems like not not even that long ago, and maybe even still now, women admitting that they masturbate makes them dirty.
Yeah, like men masturbate, women don't. So often for so long, that sort of, just that kind of hidden side of female sexuality. I mean, I know that they do, and I do, and a lot of my friends do.
I masturbate a lot these days, especially when I'm bored, or angry, or upset. Can we just, or happy, or yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Shall I?
No, could you just stay there? Just don't. Yeah, no, just. Yeah, shh. Yeah. Yes, just. God.
Never actually charted the orgasms or lack of orgasms through Fleabag, but yeah, it's really interesting. She does. Oh my God, weird. She doesn't have one with Obama, does she? She gets caught. Yeah, she can probably only do it on her own.
And that's it. Yes, of course, it would be by herself. Yeah. Yes.
It's the end of my thoughts. For some reason, she can't get there with men, probably because she's thinking about too many other things and thinking about being perfect for them.
And of course, you can't be thinking about all those things as well as being really, really into something and really in the moment. So it's a combination of women's not demanding that men try harder, and men not putting themselves, not really asking questions. I mean, I think most of us have been in a situation where the guy went, "Did you come?" and you say yes, and you know that they know you didn't, or they don't care. It's not that hard to be able to tell whether someone is faking or not. And so that kind of disconnect is really, really sad and unhealthy. And definitely, I think, in TV and film, yeah, it's exactly as you say, they either come really, really quickly and give the impression that that's an easy thing to achieve, or the focus is not on at all. I can't, in fact, think of virtually anything that I've ever seen where a guy has really spent anything like the realistic amount of time and precision that it takes. I'm not saying it's easy, but yeah, it's not something that you ever see, I don't think, is it?
Difficult to find scientific evidence, but the average time for a woman to have an orgasm with a man is between 10 and 40 minutes. That's more than the time span of a whole Fleabag episode to get close to reality.
There are some norms that have become so ingrained in the way that we present and absorb sexualized culture in television that it sometimes takes a female team to shine a light on something that a male gaze might have missed, because it's just something that they're so used to seeing that they've not realised that's actually not necessarily true.
No, I felt incredibly stupid because I've only just kind of worked out what that means. And I know but people have always said it kind of apologetically, like, you know, what is the female gaze, but not really, you know. And I've always slightly been like, what is this thing that people are talking about? It's so slow of me to work out what it actually means. But the fact that it is the world through a female experience now is now how I understand it to be. I realised that's kind of what was happening with Fleabag, and that we all took that as read. And also I was writing it always in my mind, particularly when it first came about as a play, I was writing it solely, and this was my safe place, to make this one particular friend of mine laugh, this one particular friend of mine cry. And I knew that if I was making her laugh, then it would go in, or making her cry, it would go in. And actually the kind of puritanical way of writing that made me feel safe, because I was like, if she likes it, then it doesn't matter. But also meant that I was only thinking about two women's experiences.
By writing for Vicky Jones a story about the loss of her best friend, Phoebe Waller-Bridge goes from sharing her intimate writings to creating a series that subjugates spectators. Fleabag's need for sex is in fact linked to Boo's death. a revelation that pierces our hearts and even shatters us.
I was actually just writing the play. I was just completely drafting the play really openly. And one of the things that just popped out was the passage about how Boo had died. And even I was just like, oh, that's weird. Where's that come from? I thought this is good, because the way that she talks about sex in a frivolous way is suddenly weighed down with this other massive theme in her life that she's also talking about in a frivolous way. I think they do kind of go hand in hand. It's life and death, really. What if I wrote that I fucked that cafe into liquidation? That I fucked up my family, I fucked my friend by fucking her boyfriend, that I don't feel alive unless I'm being fucked, and I don't feel in control unless I'm fucking, because fucking makes the world tighten around me, that I've been watching people fuck for as long as I've been able to search for it, and that I know that my body as it is now really is the only thing I have, and when that gets old and unfuckable, I might as well just kill it. And that sometimes I wish I never knew fucking existed, because somehow there isn't anything worse than someone who doesn't want to fuck me.
Yeah, I definitely think she's more horny because of the death in her life. Yeah, I do. I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, but I think maybe the horniness that started at the funerals of the two women she loved the most probably just didn't go away, and yeah, that fear of death. Say that again. That fear of death plunging you into life, you know, and into procreation, or all those things are probably deeply embedded in anyone's psyche, and she's had a double whammy of it.
She does it for the pleasure, she does it to forget, she does it to find immediate connection, and she does it because it's about gaining control of a moment in time when the rest of her life is so out of the, you know, all over the place. But I do think that moment of orgasm, that moment of escape, probably is fucking the pain away.
There's just been death at every door for her. The grief and the feeling of wanting to follow them into the grave is very big in her subconscious.
I wanted sex to have ruined everything in Fleabag's life, and that's how she perceives it. She sees it as a dangerous thing, that she is not really a victim of, but she's just that it's something that that just causes unhappiness, whether it's infidelity causes unhappiness, or the act itself causes unhappiness, the hollowness inside her soul about not being able to connect with somebody emotionally, and then also the fact that her dad abandons the memory of her mother to have sex with somebody else or have a relationship with somebody else. I think she just always sees it as a negative thing. I think it's because it's the precipice that I was worried that I had a perspective on myself and my own life, that I could end up seeing it as something that just controls the world in a negative way, when actually, once I'd sort of come out of that weird cloud period in my life and I was feeling a bit more positive, I knew that was a story worth telling, because it's that there's a bleakness to the insecure female psychology around sex that I think needs to have a light shone on it.